because I and Rich, different Rich, we actually got another one on now to keep the continuity going, forgot that we were playing Huddersfield on Tuesday, can you believe, the 160th anniversary game for Wrexham. So I thought I would try and make it up to people who were commenting saying, where's our Huddersfield preview? Where's our Huddersfield preview? By getting on another Rich. We only seem to get Richards on this podcast, don't we, every single week, from And He Takes That Chance Huddersfield podcast. Huddersfield, Rich, thank you very much for coming on. You're bailing us out.
Yeah, no, thank you. Like I said, the games come thick and fast. You tend to forget, don't you, when you're playing and who you're playing and everything. And madness, but we love it, don't we?
Huddersfield, then, the first, weirdly, I was looking at your results and I'm seeing the first 5 games, you win 4 out of the 5. You lose to Rotherham, you beat Bolton in that 4-0 game at their place. And we're all thinking Huddersfield are that next team, maybe behind Birmingham, kind of what we thought. You'll go straight back up. You've got, you've rebuilt really well with Michael Duff. And then what I was going to ask you is, can you explain the next 5 where you've lost 4 of those 5? You lost to Northampton off the top of my head. You lost to Blackpool, didn't you, as well? And Reading, you lost to. I watched a bit of that game. Not to remind you of all these painful memories, I'm sure, but what's happened? How have you won the first? You basically did really well in the first 5 with Michael Duff, and then the wheel seemed to slightly come a bit loose.
Yeah, pretty erratic, to be honest, Nathan. But I think what you've got to recognise is that there's been quite a lot of turbulent seasons at Huddersfield. So you're talking about we needing a revolution rather than evolution. And I think you've still got a lot of players who have been there with us in the last 2, 3, 4 seasons where pretty much Huddersfield and L was on your form list. So they're very scarred by things, Nathan. And I think as soon as anything goes against any of these guys, the heads go, the confidence go. And for example, the Northampton game, we conceded a shocking own goal early doors. Then all of a sudden the crowd on people's backs, heads are going down, guys are not passing it forward. Northampton get another goal, the boos ring out, people trudge down the tunnel, and it's like Groundhog season. And yeah, I think I kind of walked away from that game thinking it's going to be a longer term. Obviously, we had them early wins, but what I would say to you, mate, is that the performances weren't great. Peterborough, we did play well in the first game, but obviously you look where Peterborough are. Was it a good gauge? You expect them to be there every year. They're obviously not doing so well this time, so maybe it was a bit forced on. Having said that, the table is ridiculous, isn't it? I think I was doing something with a Rotherham guy last night, and I think if they're 15th, but if they're 3 points off 5th or something, it was something crazy. But I think what I'm trying to say to you, mate, is that there's a bit more to sort out at Huddersfield than what we've got. So yeah, okay, we've got some new players in, but we've still got a lot of the older players from previous seasons, and still mental scars and baggage is still around, unfortunately, for us. So yeah, very erratic, and we've won 5 and we've lost 5, which about says it all. I mean, and the big question we were kind of putting in our pockets is your glass half full or half empty and things. And yeah, the only thing is, I mean, obviously we won his last 2 games if you include the Bristol Street Motor Trophy, but what I will say, against a shockingly bad Barnsley team, so it's no kind of gauge really. So as regards the league table, obviously we're middle of it. We are where we are deserved to be, but to me, I kind of predicted maybe we'd come about 6th place in the league, and I'll probably take that now from you. I'd like to think we're going to improve. Obviously, you've got a new manager trying to get his new stamp on there, playing the 3-5-2, wing backs, a lot of different styles to what we've had. We've had so many managers in the last few years. It's been a bit of a charade, really, but yeah, it's interesting. But when we've played anyone decent this year, Rotherham, Birmingham, we've been short, to be honest with you. Obviously, going to your place on Tuesday, another big test for us. And at the moment, I'm not seeing a right lot of evidence when the going gets tough that we get going. But to be fair, we beat Barnsley in the last game and we deserved to. And we played quite well, to be honest with you. So maybe we have turned a corner. Let's see.
Well, we'll see. You've got to play Bristol Rovers before. We're speaking on the Friday before you play Bristol Rovers. So who knows how that one will have gone for you. My dad, I speak to my dad about the league and the teams we watch and what we think of them. And a good friend of his is a Huddersfield fan. I remember he was telling my dad that, the squad, quite too many young lads, really got to make a lot of changes coming down from the Championship. But when I look at the team you've got, you have got experience in there. I'm looking at the back, Matty Pearson, Tom Lee's in there as well. I know he's the backup, but Chris Maxwell, obviously we know well, has been around the game for a while. Jonathan Hogg in midfield. You have got experience. Yeah. I mean, what is it about this squad now that you think, if you are to finish top 6, why is it? Why do you think that? What have you got that maybe teams that will finish below you don't have?
Well, to be fair, Nathan, we have got a big squad. Whether it's a squad of quality is there for debate, but we've got quite a few injuries at the moment to key players. But when you still look at what we've got out and on the bench, it's still decent, mate, and better than most in this division. So excuses wise, I think you're struggling really as well to kind of get your filing out. It's the smallest filing ever, but yeah, the problem what we've had, and I know that I had at Huddersfield for a few years as a midfield. It's not very creative. It's the getting right balance right has been really, really tough. We've got a lot of kind of defensive midfielders in there. We haven't got many orchestra conductors, shall we say. Herbie Kane's been injured a lot of it. He's a bit of a League One specialist to me, but he came on against Barnsley, mate, and he created the opening goal straight away on 83 minutes. He's been injured for a lot of it. That probably showed what we're missing. Striker wise, it's been, we've got kind of six strikers, but I don't. It's quite interesting. I listened to another podcast of Huddersfield today, and it's just like they're saying, like, if you did, it was a theoretical question, like if you did get up, what would what would we need? And they were saying we'd need a new strike force, really, and that as well. So it's quite interesting, really, to take a look. But you've got to just look where we are now. Forget about going back up again and that as well. And I've got to be honest, mate. I think even though we've got more players, I think if this squad say was in Championship now, we'd come bottom. I think it's weaker than last season's, but. Because you've got players with extra mileage on there, and that's well, like I said, Tom Lees to Jonathan Ongan, not getting any younger. But yeah, it's you can't really knock the strikers too much, Nathan, because like if they're missing chance after chance, you're thinking, yeah, okay, but we're not creating the right lot, mate, and I think that is the key, really. But yeah, it's really interesting at the moment. We've got, like I said, it's sandwiched in between your game. We've got home games either side against Bristol Rovers tomorrow as we speak, and then Exeter City. But I think again, it's another thing that's a bit weird for like Huddersfield, where last few seasons we're expected to get a draw, or we're going to go there to defend or hold. We're expected to win every game now, pretty much. Obviously, apart from Birmingham, and obviously going to your place is interesting because like I was thinking a few years ago, probably 20. It's probably only 5 years ago. We were probably in Premier League that second season, and you were in National League, and now all of a sudden you're above us. It's amazing, isn't it? Once you get in a role in football, either way, how you can kind of get going wrong way like we have, or get going the right way around you have, and that as well. But I know there's a lot of Huddersfield fans. I mean, we've sold his allocation straight away. There's a lot of people really excited for the game on Tuesday. I think probably a new ground to tick off for quite a few. I mean, I've been a couple of times and that as well to your ground back in the day, but it's a fixture that's caused quite a bit of excitement over here and that as well, mate. It's probably a bit of a shame it's not a weekend, but it is what it is. And yeah, big test really. I mean, obviously coming into the season, I was hearing a lot of kind of noise from you. You're in now. We're hearing a few people saying, it's a consolidation season." I thought that's just nonsense, man. I don't. They don't do consolidation season. I don't think your owners, mate, in my opinion. And obviously, we've seen how you've started. You've done really well, but it still is early days. But I'm looking at this as, it reminds me a bit of Championship, really. If we get a point away, I'll be delighted with that as well, which shows the respect we've got, we hold for you, and kind of the weakness maybe of us not kind of thinking we're, the real deal, really.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. It's amazing how it can change. You guys in the Premier League not too long ago, and we were in the National League without sort of a hope and a prayer. So, it can change. If we look at the players, because anyone who hasn't watched any Huddersfield, like I said, did watch that match against Reading, where Reading started quite slowly and then turned it around. If I'm looking at that midfield battle that you say is kind of an area of potential weakness that Wrexham could look to exploit, you've still got in there Anthony Evans and Ben Wiles, who on the day can be very good, particularly Anthony Evans.
League
I mean,
One
what have you made of him
really,
and kind of what you can do?
Yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
bit of an enigma, Anthony Evans, really. Started the first couple of games well and thought, here we go. Because obviously, Bristol Rovers were gutted to see him go, and he got a really good kind of talk up from their supporters, which I always think interesting when you sign a player from cause like Herbie Kane, the Barnsley fans, they were having a go at him as a bad attitude, this, that, and the other. But for me, if someone's saying something like that, I always think they're a bit sad to let them go. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see who's fit. Kane's obviously kind of getting minutes under his belt, whether they'd start or not. But I expect to see the old warhorse Jonathan Ogg in for the Wrexham game, and that as well. Probably tomorrow's Bristol Rovers. I think he'll be benched. He's one of those where you've got to manage his minutes a little bit now. I think he'd like to play every game, but he's obviously not getting any younger really, in that as well. Yeah, Evans. I think we've still got to see the best of him, and that as well. He's a guy who he I don't say a short fuse, but he wants to win so much he gets easily frustrated, and I've seen him rowing with a lot of our players like this season and things, just because things are not kind of going his way. So yeah, I think it'll be good in that as well. But it'd be interesting to see what he picks. Obviously, you've got Ben Wiles, he has been a bit of an enigma for us pretty disappointing if we're being honest. Obviously, Vincent Kompany will want to get into Burnley and etc. And thought highly of him, but he's not really done what he needs to do. But he has chipped in with a few goals. But he can be in a game where he just goes totally missing. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what midfield we pick for your game on Tuesday. But I just hope we go positive, mate, because for so many seasons now, Huddersfield has just been like Championship. I remember going to Swansea last year, mate. We had like 18% possession. It was shocking. We nearly burgled a win. But that's not what I want to watch in my football, mate. I want to go to the games. I want to see us on the front foot and trying to win. And I know that's how you play. So I'm just hoping, it'll be a good game. And I think it will be, to be honest.
Let's do two more questions then, one on the manager and one on the league. Talk to me about Michael Duff then, because you mentioned Swansea there. He was there. He wasn't super popular. I think that's probably an understatement at Swansea. But it seems like, he is a real coup at this level, I think, in League One. He's proven himself previously. Have you been impressed with what you've seen so far, even with the recent wobble?
I have. I think it's just a perfect fit for Huddersfield, what they need now. I think he's a bit of a straight talker, which I think we've kind of come from a background of Neil Warnock the last few seasons. So people like that in Huddersfield. They like not to be, swear, but don't like to be kidded, fooled and stuff. And we've had people like Darren Moore, even worse, Matt Fotheringham, people like that. You're talking a press conference, you think, what was this guy on about? And then he says the teams are going to play like this, and you watch it, you think, I don't get. This guy's honest. He knows what he's up. I think the Swansea just maybe was a bad fit for him, really, and that as well. I think I don't blame him for taking the job, but I did. It was ironic that game I mentioned, that 82% possession. That was his last game that he got dismissed after that. But it sounds like, speaking to some of their guys, he was having run-ins with some of the fans and this, that, and the other. But maybe that just wasn't a good fit. I think it is a bit of a coup, to be honest, mate. But I do think it's one of those where he's probably looked at what he's got to play with. And to be fair, we signed a few players in the summer, I'm thinking we're going to be right up there, and we still probably will be. But I think it's a bigger job than he thought, to be honest, mate. And I think, especially in these, that when we've lost them games on the bounce, I'm not saying it looks a bit haunted, but I sit behind the dugout of the games, and you look at him, and he looks like, and he thinks, you look at him and thinks, Jesus, this one kind of advertised on the brochure. So, yeah, but you know what is, people up in our parts will always like people who don't fool the public. So if the game's been rubbish, he'll say it's been poor, and yeah, we like that. So no, I think even in them losing results has been, no one's. You know what football's like, there's knee-jerk left, right and centre, but I think everyone's realising that probably the job's a bit bigger than everyone thought, albeit minimum expectation really is a playoff spot. Obviously, you think everyone's going to be playing behind Birmingham, really, but it's yeah. I'm a fan, mate, and but he needed that win though last time out against Barnsley. Not so sure on obviously the Bristol Street Motors. That's kind of a non-event really, but yeah, and he's got it. And yeah, I think the big thing on Tuesday will be how we come. Hopefully, we get the job done tomorrow against Bristol Rovers, and then we come there with a bit of heart because, but they've won the last two, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes tomorrow. But I think we need to come to your place on the back of a win and that as well, just to keep it going. But 1-5, lost 5, that sums us up. You just don't know which other shield's going to turn up at the moment.
Well, we shall see. Lastly, a reminder before I ask Rich the last question that Rich is part of the And He Takes That Chance podcast, which is also part of the TalkSport fan network that we ourselves are on. So go check them out. Rich, lastly, then we've kind of touched on it a little bit. 10 games between us, we've seen a lot of different League One teams, some different, some the same.
Yeah.
What do you make of the league then this year? Because my co-host Rich, who isn't here, he was maybe thinking it'd be a little bit trickier for us coming up. We've obviously done quite well, but Birmingham at the top and then everyone else up for grabs, do you think?
Yeah, that's how it feels for me. Yeah, ironically, I think the best team we've played is Walsall, who were not even in our division. They were fantastic in the cup, knocked us out 2-0 behind. They beat us 3-2. They might have been 4-2 actually, and yeah, they were really, really good. But yeah, no, it's and I should remember it for because it wasn't that long ago. 2012 when we kind of climbed out of League One, and obviously we had a nice flirt with the Premier League for a couple of years and everything. But I must admit, I've been quite surprised how poor the standard has been, if I'm being honest with you. Just honestly, some of the games we scored a comical own goal. Bolton give us a goal that were just like, honestly, you won't see it like an under-8 teams. But yeah, some of just the basic stuff of passing out. I think the standard's been pretty poor, to be honest with you. Maybe we've just, we've not obviously pulled up any trees, but maybe we've not played the better teams on the eye. But I think what worries me a little bit is like, obviously teams come to Huddersfield and thinking, yeah, happy days, they was in the Premier League Championship, so they're going to like sit in there, and the teams that have sat in there and like just like come on and show what you got, and then like picked us off. They've had a good afternoon. So yeah, I don't know. He's trying to work it out. It's really interesting. But like I've mentioned there, when you've got, I think it's like 5 points between 5th and 18th or something, it might even be less than that. That shows what you're up against. There's not a lot between anyone else. For example, Rotherham, who've been on a shocking run, but they're on a good run now. They've seemed to turn the corner, and I think they'll get stronger. I think they'll be right up there with Rotherham. Steve Evans, they've got some good players. So I think the table's like kind of not making much sense really. But I think Huddersfield, I think they're 9th as we speak, and I think it's probably about where we need to be. So, but yeah, I don't expect you to be. I expect you to be challenging for them playoff spots. I don't know what you feel, but yeah, I think. Yeah, and you'll always get one or two surprise teams, but as regarding standard football, I think it's been pretty poor if I'm being honest. But maybe it always was in League One, and I've just maybe been spoiled on a bit of Premier League and Championship for the last 10 seasons.
Well, yeah, maybe, but we'll see. Tuesday can't come around fast enough. You'll be listening to this maybe Sunday, maybe Monday before the game. Reminder, Wrexham's 160th anniversary game. So I'm not quite sure yet what the club have planned, but hopefully, and on our 150th anniversary, this is a good omen for Rich, on our 150th anniversary, we lost to Grimsby. So hopefully we can kind of write it on the 160th one.
Wrexham AFC podcast with Nathan Salt and Rich Faye.